Welcome to our training module for effective mentoring in support of our mentors for the 2016-2017 school year. I'm Sonia Tillier, Assistant Superintendent.
And I'm Zachary Wadaker, Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Elementary Education.
In this module, we're going to guide you through a few different aspects of being an effective mentor, but we want to stop first here with this graphic and really call out the levels of support that you'll be able to provide for your protege.
As a mentor, we hope that you can help fulfill some of these responsibilities as new hires to the school district, whether in their first year of teaching or maybe experienced teachers just spending their joining us for the first year here in Falmouth. They all need throughout the school year different levels of help, support, advice, guidance, and assistance. And by being selected by your building principal to serve in this capacity, he or she has really felt that you are somebody who can help support our new educators as we look to help them get acclimated to our district.
So before we go any further, it's important for us to stop here and thank you very much for your support of our colleagues across the district. We have 4 essential questions that are going to guide us through this process. The first is, how does the mentoring relationship impact the protege's first year of experience? And as Zach just pointed out, it could be their first year to the profession of teaching and learning, or it may just be their first year in our district. Either way, your support is critical.
Our second essential question is, to what extent is educator proficiency tied to the mentoring experience? In our school district, we worked very hard to tie initiatives together, and mentoring and induction and educator evaluation are certainly 2 very important initiatives within the school district. And we ask that you think about how you as a mentor can help your new hire not just navigate places throughout the district and become familiar with strategic programs that we use in the district, but how can you help them become an even better educator?
The third question we ask is, how can a strong mentoring experience increase the retention of quality educators? So often we see headlines splashed across trade journals as well as newspapers or on the TV telling us about how many people are actually leaving our profession. And I think it's very important as we go through this process to call out a core value that Zach and I have about supporting our colleagues so that they remain with us within our community of practice.
And finally, we ask, how does mentoring foster growth of a professional learning community? And many times when I talk with people who have just gone through the process of being a mentor, they say that they got just as much out of the experience as they hope the new hire did as well. And really, it's important to remember that everybody who joins our team is a professional in education and brings something to the table. And really, this should be looked at as a growth experience for everyone.
So in close alignment with our 4 essential questions, we also have 4 enduring understandings that we'd like to call out in support of our program. Again, the first here is, mentoring is critical to acclimating the protege to the school and school culture.
Next, mentoring is essential to responding to the unique needs of the protege.
The quality of the mentoring relationship shapes the protege's expectations for the profession.
And finally, mentoring relationships extend beyond a single year formal agreement.
We didn't spend much time unpacking each of these 4 understandings because they perfectly align with the questions, and we've actually arrived at these understandings in our overview of the questions.
So we'll talk a little bit about the agenda of this training module for mentors this school year. First, we're going to reflect on the qualities of a good mentor. For some of you, this is the first time you've ever mentored, or the first time in a while. So we'll talk about what we find to be good qualities of a mentor based on our experience, but then also the feedback that we hear from our new hires.
We're going to discuss the 5 principles of effective mentoring and make that connection to our mentoring and induction guide through an overview.
We will also have an overview of the mentoring documentation form, which gets submitted to the Office of Curriculum and Instruction twice per year.
We're going to explain the assignment that verifies your completion of this training module.
And we'll help you get started with the mentoring process. If it's somebody who you are new to meeting, we'll give you some tips as to how you can start this relationship as the year progresses.
And finally, we're going to talk about a few key resources that will assist you along the way. So what we'd like to start with is a reflective activity where we ask you to just pause for a moment and consider a time in your life when you turn to someone more experienced for guidance.
What were the qualities that he or she possessed that made him or her qualified to give you advice?
And how did his or her advice influence your actions or thoughts?
I think many of us can think about a time when we've gone to somebody for experience, somebody experienced for guidance, and we can think of both situations that have been positive and those situations that have been negative. And as we go through this process with our mentors and our new hires, we like to talk about what are the characteristics of good mentoring.
And we can also, in this process of reflecting, think about the difference between people who sort of heard a request and then took action for us, and those who guided us through taking action for ourselves. And understanding that balance is another key feature of the mentor relationship.
We'd also like to consider 5 principles for effective mentoring. Um, there are many components to being a good mentor, and here are just 5 areas where we think are the most crucial, in no particular order.
For the purposes of our conversation, however, we are going to take them in order, starting with acknowledging who you are at 1 o'clock and just moving clockwise around the circle. Again, as Zach said, they don't need to be considered in any particular order when you're evaluating who you are as a mentor, but for our purposes, we wanted to keep our conversation organized clockwise around the graphic.
So first, as a mentor, it's important for you to acknowledge who you are. It's important for you to think about where can I really help my mentee based on my role in the school district and my own experience. And secondly, it's just as important to know where you may need to go to find help for your mentor. Nobody expects every mentor to have the answer to every question, but we do hope that you'll be able to help your new hire find the resources that they need.
So in acknowledging who you are, as Zach just pointed out, these are the elements you need to consider. Consider strengths and biases, but also be aware to your own areas for growth, because as you work towards achieving those actions that you lay out for yourselves, you're going to be able to guide the new hire with whom you're working in that same fashion, and it goes back to building the capacity for proficiency or even exemplary practice over time.
We also ask that you be open, honest, and compassionate. And understand that your new hire has various needs within the district, and some of that is for growth as an educator. So if you can be honest and compassionate, if you see areas where the educator can improve, do so.
And part of being honest is making sure that you are actively listening to them and giving them very direct feedback that's going to support them, but making sure that you do it in a way that's emotionally supportive as well.
Next, we're going to talk about building the relationship with the mentor and the protege. First, what's really important is grounding your work in trust, and that the only way a mentoring and induction program can be successful if there's trust between the team. Your new hire, needs to know that the conversations you have are confidential and that they can feel free to come to you with any concerns that they have and not feel like they're going to be judged in any way.
The level at which you would want to move beyond just that conversation between the two of you is if you feel like the new hire with whom you're working is in physical harm, a position of physical harm or emotional harm, then you're going to want to reach out directly to your building principal to support you in that conversation. But by and large, as Zach pointed out, it is a relationship built on both trust and confidentiality that's shared between the two of you as your colleague begins their journey in the Falmouth Public Schools.
Second, we ask that you discover your shared interests. It doesn't always have to be all about business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but really get to know this person. And we just feel like that's such an important part of building that strong relationship is that you don't only have to talk about work, but get to know one another, find out what you have in common, and that can really help to build the relationship.
And likewise, discuss your differences. You may find that in many ways you're complementary opposites and that you are able to push each other further into your practice and discover new strategies for instruction just through your conversations with each other. I think one particular piece that we drew when Zach and I read through the Mentoring in Action guidebook again is that your goal in mentoring is not to create a clone of you, but rather to assist a new teacher or a new colleague in the district in that process of uncovering his or her own strengths and refining his or her own teaching styles.
And don't forget, as you build this relationship, the conversations that you have with your protege will truly influence their perspective on teaching and learning. We want to have the best and brightest within our school district. We feel like we already do. And it's really important that we have these positive relationships where we can help support educators as best we can.
And so, directly from that are opportunities for quality conversations. We've already begun to talk about it, but we really want to underscore at this point that you need to balance your talking with your listening.
Secondly, mentors have so much information and insight to share, but proteges need entry points too. It's really important that we don't overwhelm our new hires with information at first. It's important that they get what they need for teaching and learning first as logistical pieces. For example, how to best take attendance, or where are the supplies within my school, things like that. And then as the year progresses and you learn more about each other, that's when it will be time to share some more specific information and insight that you have as a mentor.
So here we have the equation: quality conversation equals that ongoing professional dialogue. And give yourselves together time to sustain that dialogue, because it's critical to the health of the relationship that you'll share this year, next year, and hopefully for many years to come. Also, we ask that you participate in ongoing reflection as a key aspect to growing, and that's why we called out that activity earlier and asked you to reflect on someone to whom you've gone to for guidance.
And we really do believe that reflection is a key aspect of growing as a professional educator. When we think about educator evaluation and we develop our SMART goals for student learning, for professional practice, we're always thinking about having a growth mindset and acknowledging that all of us can learn more each and every year and become better at our practice. So it's important that through reflection with your mentor or your new hire, that you think about how can we grow as professional educators.
And so, taking it all together, what we're doing is we're all contributing to our ability to maintain a professional community. Our new colleagues, they're going to share the same responsibilities you have as an educator in the district. As mentors, you're the key to the integration, their integration, into the existing professional learning community of the Falmouth Public Schools. And that comes at many different levels. It comes at a classroom or grade level, pardon the redundancy. It comes within a department, it comes within a school, and then in a much broader context across the district, and also you have to consider the Falmouth Public Schools' role in the greater community. There's a lot of levels to consider, and it's a pretty awesome responsibility, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty rewarding one too.
Next, we want to talk to you about the overview of the Falmouth Public Schools Mentoring and Induction Program Guide. Each of you received a copy of this on the day we met this past August with your new hires during the orientation. And inside, there's more information that goes beyond what Sonia and I are presenting to you today as an overview. It goes specifically into what the various roles are of people within the school district, who your points of contact are. But one thing we did want to call out for you is the various levels of mentorship in the district.
The first level, or mentor level 1, is designed to support our newest colleagues, those who are joining the profession for the first time, and ensuring that they have regular meetings between you as their mentor and themselves. This level of mentoring includes ongoing building and professional support, and does require attendance at any designated mentor and induction program meetings, which we'll discuss in just a moment.
The second level of mentoring in the district supports experienced educators shifting to a new role. So this may be somebody who's previously worked in the school district but may now be going to a different school or teaching a different content area. And it's a different level of mentoring because they don't need that introduction to the district type of mentoring, but they need more mentoring in terms of curriculum and instruction. And as Sonia said, similarly with level 1 mentoring, this requires attendance at any designated mentoring and induction program meetings.
And finally, Mentor Level 3 supports experienced educators who are new to the district or shifting to a new school. And so they may feel pretty confident in their approach to teaching and learning in the classroom, but they need some additional support in acclimating to the Falmouth Public Schools culture.
Additional information about these levels can be found in the handbook that we referenced earlier.
We also have an electronic copy of our handbook posted to our curriculum instruction page if you click on the mentoring resources, and we're also going to provide it to you via email. So a little bit more information that we've drawn out here for the purpose of this training module from the FPS mentoring guide is just, again, a bit of a recap of some of the points that we've already made. But part of your work as a mentor is to offer embedded professional support to your colleagues. And here are some ways that we do that.
First, guiding orientation to school, district, and community. So again, letting them, helping them become familiar with things that are very specific to your school, to our district, and to the greater Falmouth community.
Helping locate resources and curriculum materials in your buildings, and part of that process as well is also helping to learn digital platforms that may be used for testing or for intervention in your particular school or at your particular grade level, and just making sure that they understand where to go and how to use those materials.
Third, it's important to familiarize new teachers with school and district assessments. So whether we're looking at commonly developed assessments within departments or some of the standardized assessments that our district participates in, it's important to help them understand the timing throughout the school year when these assessments occur and what the data is used for and how we use the data to drive instruction and to improve student achievement.
Also, your role is to assist with classroom instruction, assessment, and management issues. Certainly, it's not to co-plan per se, although that may be one activity in which you engage. But your protege or colleague who is new to the role or to the district is going to have a lot of questions, and you can assist them by answering those questions and guiding them in their planning.
We strongly encourage you next to consider peer observation experiences. It's a great way for you as an experienced educator to go into the classroom and to provide specific and targeted feedback, not for the sake of evaluation, but for the sake of helping grow their practice, like we mentioned earlier. But also it's a great idea for you as a veteran teacher to model some good practices for a new educator in the district. If you don't feel like you're the best person based on your specific role, you can also arrange peer observations with other colleagues who you work with.
And finally, though this is not an exhaustive list, these are our top 6 priority areas. We call back out the idea of being an empathetic and active listener. You're going to offer much by way of professional support, but you're also offering much by way of emotional support. And just bear that in mind as you go into conversations. That, certain questions may be coming from a place of, I really don't know what to do, or I've got this idea, but do you have one that's a little bit better? And, each time you approach a conversation, there may be a new lens.
And really, why do we go through all this each year? We really feel like as a result of our mentoring program, there are many things we can do to support new staff. First, we think one of the most important things to do is to quickly help the educator become part of the school and district culture. We know that on that first day of school, the students come in quickly and it seems like we're getting right back into our normal routines. Well, for these new educators, it's an important time for them to become part of our school and district community.
And then also, as we've previously mentioned, receive guidance in planning and organizing classroom instruction. And part of this process, too, may be helping them to realize that it's okay to reconfigure classroom furniture or to rethink an approach that they start the year with, and that that's a natural part of what we do in teaching and learning.
We continue to talk here about implementing best practices and strategies for successful instructional techniques. It's really important that as we think about the professional development that we've engaged in over the past few years, a lot of our new hires did not have the opportunity, obviously, to attend those trainings. So if you could ever pull together some resources that you knew worked really well for you, that would be a great thing to share with a new educator in terms of helping their planning, management, teaching, and assessment.
Again, collegial observation is always important. It's an important part of our practice as administrators, And we recognize it's an important part of all colleagues' practice to observe each other doing the everyday tasks from different angles.
And then finally, our major hope is that as a result of the mentoring and induction program, we build a new group of successful members of the Falmouth Public Schools.
So, quick overview, mentoring responsibilities include, as a recap, providing instructional support, professional support, and personal support.
In addition, it's maintaining that confidential relationship that we spoke of earlier. Sonia called out a couple of examples of when it is appropriate to break confidentiality if it's for the sake of the safety and health of children or the safety and health of the educator. But essentially, it's in terms of the day-to-day things, it's important to keep that relationship confidential in nature.
And as a mentor, you're serving as a liaison to other staff members and to educational and school resources within your school or within the district. So please bear in mind that you are often that link between the new teacher and what they need to do their job.
So here is a look at the mentoring documentation form, which can be found on the Curriculum and Instruction website, as Sonia mentioned earlier, under our Mentoring and Induction tab. And there's also a paper copy that's included in the Mentoring and Induction Handbook. And this is some of the documentation that needs to be kept and submitted to the Office of Curriculum and Instruction.
And we've also added this year a particular collaborative assessment log aligned to the administrator rubric, and we are also going to be adding one aligned to the SISP rubric. Those will also be posted to our website once they're complete.
So while there is a certain level of accountability that's needed, number one, because of licensure requirements for new educators, and number two, for the stipend you'll be receiving, this is more of a way for you to keep things on focus. So if you set up a meeting every 2 weeks, this gives you a place where you can start your discussions. What's working within the classroom? What are some challenges or concerns? What are some next steps that can be followed for both the new hire and the mentor?
We also have some templates in our office that we're going to be sharing that help you to structure your meeting, whether you have 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour or more, what you can expect to accomplish and how much time you should devote to each part of the task.
Finally, we want to talk a little bit about the required meetings that are part of the Mentoring and Induction program. We spoke a little bit about this back at the district orientation day with our new hires, that we try to balance out the required meetings both in a face-to-face format where we bring everybody together, and then through more personalized experiences at the school-based level. We call that our mentor menu.
So as you can see here, there are 2 dates set aside for face-to-face meetings. The first one, September 22nd, has actually been revised in our calendar recently, and it's going to be September 29th, and we'll send that out to you in an update email. And then January 26th, 2017. Feels like forever away, and yet it's right around the corner. So those are our 2 face-to-face meetings, and you can see the timing that's laid out by school.
In addition to the face-to-face, as I briefly mentioned, we have the mentor menu dates. This is where the Office of Curriculum Instruction will send out an email to new hires and mentors with a list of suggested activities that correlate directly to the rubrics for educator evaluation. And it helps, again, to bring up conversations and discussions that you can tailor a little more to your specific needs. Some articles we may send will be based on pedagogy and teaching practices. Some may be around the struggles of a first-year teacher. And we try to have a nice broad menu so that way everybody can find 1 or 2 activities that are most meaningful for them.
And in selecting those 2 activities, we'll also send you a link to a Google form where we'll just ask you to post a reflection after you do each of the activities, just so that we have a sense of what you did and the value you took away from that.
Additional information about those specific tasks will come on the dates that are listed on the screen.
So finally, the verification of training, which is done through assignments. There are 2 assignments here. As you can see right now in front of you, task 1 or assignment 1 is self-reflection.
So specifically what we asked you to do was to think of the qualities of somebody, the qualities that somebody had who you had gone to when you were looking for guidance. So not only what were the qualities, but how much of an impact did that person make on you in terms of trying to get guidance?
And that person may or may not have been assigned to you as a mentor. They may have been a more informal mentor. They may have been an older member of your family. But just calling upon that will help you to think about who you are as a mentor and what you bring to the experience.
Right. By no means does this need to be specific to work or specific to education. Just any time where you would look to somebody for guidance. We're going to ask that you write your reflection, a brief reflection, and letting us know how this will impact you as a mentor is important.
Second, we're going to ask you to respond to the 4 essential questions at the beginning. We will also post them to an email with a reminder about the dates so that you don't have to continue to go back and forth throughout the screencast. But along with this training module, you received a copy of our mentoring and induction guide, as we talked about a bit ago. And we're also going to be sending you in that email articles from educational leadership that are specific to mentoring. And then we're going to ask you to email the responses to the 2 different assignments or tasks to Anna, our project manager in our office, and you can see her email is there on the screen.
And finally, we just thought it'd be nice to give you some ideas of how to get started building a nice relationship with your protege. First, send them a happy first day note in their mailbox. I know we're past the first day at this point, but even just on the first day of a new month, and say, you've made it 1 month in. How are things going? Something to surprise them.
As you get to know each other's personal preferences, maybe you buy him or her a cup of coffee or tea or one of the seasonal hot chocolates at Starbucks, just saying. But you take time to just have a more casual conversation. Maybe it's not just about the professional practice, but it's maybe just checking in. How are you doing?
If you feel like it's appropriate, you can always exchange cell phone numbers. I have no doubt that there are going to be times when a new hire has something on their mind after the school day or maybe on the weekend, an upset parent or a lesson that didn't go well. And if you feel comfortable providing that information, that's just another way to help build that relationship.
Make a commitment to a standing meeting. Depending on the level of your mentoring relationship, those standing meetings may occur weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, but just make a commitment to each other to support each other.
Next, we suggest that you may want to just spend that first meeting establishing rapport with one another. We mentioned earlier that it's really important for each of you to know what you bring to the table, what your experiences have been, and how you can best be of support to one another.
So the bottom line of all of this is take time to invest in each other. There are a number of people, and through this reflection, I'm sure you can think of a couple that stand out who make a difference in our lives, and you've been tapped to make a difference in a particular colleague's life.
We truly do value the work that you do in terms of mentoring and induction, and we totally believe that the biggest asset we have in the school district are the professionals who work with our students each and every day. And we feel that this the mentoring and induction program is really vital in supporting our staff as we engage in a difficult profession that can have many ups and downs throughout the course of a year.
So as we said in the beginning, we say again now, thank you.
Another resource that we presented to our new hires, even those who maybe have a few years of experience in the district, is a text titled, "Why Didn't I Learn This in College?" This text just has a lot of different instructional strategies, assessment strategies. It's not a book that's meant to be read cover to cover, but more as a resource in times of need. I encourage you to look through this book with your new hire if there are areas where you have concern, particularly in the areas of teaching and learning. And the Office of Curriculum and Instruction does have extra copies, so if you need a copy for yourself, by all means reach out to us and we'll be happy to provide you with one.
And so finally, as we close, here's a series of additional resources, several of which will be coming your way from educational leadership. And again, on behalf of Zach and myself, we say it one more time. Thank you so much for your commitment to the Mentoring and Induction program.